Welcome to the Shine Within podcast. Today, we have the privilege of introducing a world-renowned speaker, expert, AmondaRose Igoe, featured on CBS, Fox, and NBC News, and as a contributor to Chicken Soup for the Soul, one of my favorites, by the way. AmondaRose has been recognized as a LinkedIn thought leader and is a go-to authority for unlocking speaking potential. Her impressive clientele includes best-selling authors, Emmy Award-winning newscasters, and international television hosts. And she has helped hundreds of women across more than 20 countries 2 times to 10 times their speaking results. Wow. As the CEO and founder of her speaking success coaching programs, AmondaRose specializes in helping women avoid common speaking mistakes, crafting compelling signature talks, and magnetize their audiences. Whether you're looking to make your event unforgettable or accelerate your speaking career, AmondaRose brings real-life examples and content-rich strategies that ensure every speaker can make a lasting impact. And yes, AmondaRose, oh my goodness, she, by the way, listeners, was my TEDx speaking coach. So I am so excited to have her on my show today. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so glad to be here. And it was an absolute pleasure being your TEDx speaker coach. You bring tremendous amount of joy and light and positivity to the entire TEDx experience. So thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you so much. That means so much to me because I was a nervous wreck. I was like, oh my goodness, but you totally helped me. You grounded me. You gave me, we did that little receiving circle and I truly appreciate that. I'm like, oh yes, I need to receive. I need some good energy. And I know you have great energy and I sense it all the time whenever we're doing our coaching calls online or when I was over in Florida. I know you're from Florida. When I was over in Florida, it was just a wonderful experience. So I just want to say thank you for being you as well.
Aw.
So I really wanted to talk about public speaking. I shared this with my podcast before. I was a nervous wreck when it came to public speaking. I would shake, I would stumble with words, I would, just feel like I'm going to throw up and pass out. That's how
Mhm.
I felt. Let's just go ahead and start off. What was your journey like becoming a speaking coach?
Well, I had a similar experience because I was a social worker and I took a job with the nonprofit because I had gotten burnt out in social work. I took a job with the nonprofit and they didn't tell me I'd have to speak in front of hundreds of people. I'd never taken a debate class in college. I'd never stood up in front of a group and presented information. And you're telling me I have to speak in front of hundreds. And I was a horrible communicator. Ahs and ums, I was the queen of them, nervous laughter, and I was uncomfortable in social situations. So it was like one of those moments where you could either let something, you could rise above something or something could take you out. And I chose to not leave that job because I was thinking about it. I could quit. And I decided, I'm going to figure this stuff out. And through the same process of that happening in the career, I found out that I had unique abilities for creating fun and engaging and thoughtful content, so much that board members would say to me, you need to go teach everyone to speak like you. Now, I had overcome the nervous laughter, I had overcome the ahs and ums, and I got really solid in my delivery. But it was the content, the way that I put things together that they loved so much. And at the same time this was happening, I started doing personal development. And if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know you can never be the same after personal development. And I remember going to my first workshop and seeing this gentleman get up on stage and changing lives. And we go, oh my gosh, I'd like to do that. I'd love to be a speaker. But that little voice inside my head said, you can't do that. You're not good enough. No one will listen to you. And sooner or later, my intuition, my guidance took over and said, okay, you are doing exactly what you're doing because you are speaking AmondaRose, you are changing lives through the nonprofit. Why couldn't you take those same things, those skills, but also be able to help other people do the same thing? And so that was 20 years ago this year that I started my business, and I've never looked back as a speaker, coach, and trainer.
Wow. Yes, that inner voice is so important. Often we're just ignoring it all the time. And I was sharing this to somebody that we never do say to somebody, hey, I should not have listened to myself. We always say I should have listened to myself, right?
So true.
It is so
So true.
true. Yeah, so that inner voice is so important and that guidance is just incredible. And that's exactly what happened to me. I'm kind of going deep a little bit and I'm going to be honest. And I think some of my listeners may have already heard this story, but I actually experienced a miscarriage in April. And I kid you not, I did a pod. I'm getting goosebumps, so I know something's coming to me.
Mhm.
My podcast number 143, and that is my number, by the way. That's my angel number that I always hold on to dearly. And it was also a pager code for I love you back in the 90s. And one of my guests came on and she was my guest number 143. Well, we talked about how we tell ourselves, oh, we're not ready yet, we're not good enough, we're just not there. But I remember that same night after that podcast, because it was an evening podcast, going to my email, and then I saw a TEDx something. I'm like, what? And it said, "We are recognizing your work. We would really appreciate if you would went ahead and applied." Da da da. I was like, oh, I'm gonna throw up. I was not ready for it. I was thinking maybe 10 years from now I'd be ready. You were thinking these things. But immediately what I thought to myself is, I'm not ready yet. And I was like, wait a minute, I just did a podcast about how we have these limiting beliefs and how we should be overcoming the inner critic within us and just going for it anyway because it's there for a reason. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and apply. And then here we go again. I'm not going to get it anyway. So we'll see what happens, right? Wound up getting it. So I knew there was for a purpose and for a reason because then I heard that inner voice saying, go, you have to do it. This is part of the reason why you're here right now at this moment. You got to do it. I'm like, okay, I got to do it. And so, yeah, that's what led me. And then met all of you wonderful speakers and coaches and oh my gosh, and Key, what an amazing experience.
You're,
But
you
I
know, you're not alone in that because every time we stretch ourselves doing something out of our comfort zone. So let's just say somebody does a TEDx or speaks in front of 50 people, and the next time it's 500, they might have thought, I nailed this. I did so good. Well, 50 people is much different than 500 people. And so every time you step up, you experience these things. So I do still have live events, but years ago, I remember when I was doing what I call boot camps. I changed the word, I call them immersions because women don't want to come to a boot camp. It's not a retreat. Because what would happen is they'd write their talk and then have to deliver it. Like there is no months and months of preparing a TEDx. It's like we're going to get it done and you're going to deliver it. So I would have a powerful woman. One of them was one of the television hosts. So she'd been on TV. She had sold billions of dollars worth of products on Home Shopping Network. She knew how to talk to people. And she came in, she's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Mm-mm. I had another woman, same thing. I had to take her car keys because she's going to get in her car and go. So this happens to every single person when you're stretched out of your comfort zone. It happens to me too. Every time I do something that's bigger, I go, what does that feel like? And that little voice wants to creep in. But I think when speaking, if you focus on the difference you're going to make in the audience, and that's what I did early on, and I still do today, I focus on the difference that I'm going to make in people's lives, then that becomes more important than that little negative, chatty voice in our head. So if we think about them and the lives that are going to be changed by the information we're sharing, it takes it off of us and puts that beautiful energy and thoughtfulness, and you end up nailing your presentations much more than when we're in the ego space of it being about us.
That's so true. Wow. Now you do something amazing. You actually help craft a signature talk. And I know that could be challenging for anyone doing it alone. What are some key elements of a compelling signature talk, and how can speakers ensure their message is clear and impactful?
Great question. And I'm going to use a little bit different from a TEDx style versus what I teach my clients. So TEDx style is for, it's kind of like you're talking at an audience rather than talking with them. You're delivering your information, right? It's very well thought out. It's every moment's planned. Where I think it's talking with an audience, having a conversation. engaging your audience in your presentation. Something that we worked on was your opening, to pull them in immediately from the moment you start messaging and start talking, so that they're with you. So do you remember what your question was that you
Oh,
asked the
yeah. My question was first asking them, hey, has any of you experienced addiction or has a loved one who has? And then they would then be already engaged by raising their hand because I would ask, can you please raise your hand?
So they raise their hand, so they're already going, oh my gosh. And the moment they raise their hand, once, what they do is they break the mind chatter that's going on their head, that's thinking about the to-do list and all the other things that are going on in their lives. And the moment they do a physical movement, it pulls them in. So you had them the moment you did that, and they're going, oh my gosh, I can relate to this topic. Let me listen. So it's really important that you're, throughout your entire talk, that you're including the audience in your presentation. So they feel like, oh, she's talking directly to me. I'm a room full of people, but Gina's talking to Sue, Gina's talking to Stephanie, Gina's talking to Tom. They want to feel like they're fully with you the entire time. So I think audience engagement is key. So always thinking about what can you include that gets the audience to do something with you, respond in some way, answer a question in some way, so that they're always listening to what you're going to say because they know something else is going to come up that's going to include them. And they don't want to miss out when that happens.
Yes. And how do you keep the audience engaged? Like even in the middle, I know we can do the beginning, but like in the middle or even close to the end.
Yeah, so it's those same kind of things. So when I help my clients write their signature talk from opening closing, so it's really important to have an opening that drags them, that pulls them in and gets them to go, oh my gosh, I needed this today. And that's one of the things that you did with that. And there's many ways to open. And so also including a very personal and vulnerable story. So it's really about getting to the heart of the story. So when I go out and speak to live audiences, I talk about when my dad disappeared when I was 6 years old. I talk about that story. And what does it have to do about speaking? So I take that story and tie it into all the negative challenges, the issues I had with speaking, and then what I've overcome and where I am today. So having a vulnerable story is key. So it's not a story that is, let's just say, a successful business owner who says, oh yeah, I went from making $25,000 a year to over, to 7 figures or 8 figures. The audience, that's okay, but the audience really doesn't feel their heart when their story is based on that. And then also too, when you're sharing tips, if somebody is a business owner or entrepreneur, you want to make sure that you leave your audience wanting more, so that you give value. I'm a big believer it shouldn't be just a bunch of stuff that's flying around and they can't use, but give me real content, but also having the audience go, oh my gosh, I need more of this. And then having a closing that inspires them to go say, okay, I'm going to take the action steps. I'm so motivated. I'm going to implement what I learned today, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to reach out to so and so about hiring them. It has to be a call to action that moves people into action. It's not, okay, our time is up today. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. No, that doesn't do it. That doesn't do it.
Yeah, I was going to say there's been some presentations that were just like that. I'm like, but wait, I want more. What am I supposed to do next? And it leaves the audience hanging like, wait, I want something else.
There's also the challenge, especially with women entrepreneurs, is that we love to give so much. And this is an issue that I had, which is what I call the data dump. Like I dumped information on the audience, gave them so much that their heads were spinning and no one will hire me afterwards. And so it's the balancing act between the two, giving enough that creates the credibility and gets them to want more of it, and also having it so that they do get value, but they're not overwhelmed by how much value they got.
So true. Now let's talk about a little bit about booking speaking engagements because I know it can definitely be tough. Like how do I get booked? Here I'm working with AmondaRose. How do I get booked now? What are some proven methods for finding and securing speaking opportunities?
Okay, so here's the, can we do a little reality check?
Yeah.
Okay, so most people think, okay, I'm gonna put speaker on my website. I'm gonna put it on my LinkedIn profile, my Facebook profile, and I'm gonna get paid $5,000 for a speaking engagement. because so-and-so got paid $5,000. I'm just as good as them. And the reality is that there is, yes, that can happen, but you need to do the groundwork, which means that you need to get out there and be speaking, because it's not going to happen if people don't know about you. About 85% of speaking engagements come from referrals. That's a lot. So it's meaning that maybe you spoke somewhere and then another opportunity showed up. But you have to be able to get out there and even do the free complimentary presentations to get your message out there. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. And then you can start earning some paid gigs and it will increase that way. When somebody's a business owner, it's a great way to generate revenue and create new clients. So you might even make more than you would have made with the 5,000. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You also want to make sure that your message speaks to your most lucrative audience. So who are the people that are willing to hire you, right? Are willing to maybe hire you for more? Who is your most ideal audience that has the funds to invest in bringing you in as a speaker? Lots of people don't think about that. And so they speak, if you ask them where they speak, they say, oh, I speak everywhere. Who do you speak to? Everyone. No, haven't really dialed in. And who do you love to speak with? Who do you want to be in front of? Who has the same kind of vibe and thought process that you do around something? So for me, I love women business owners. That's where my heart and soul is. Yes, do I work with some men clients? Yes. Do I work with some corporate people? Yes. But I love women business owners. I'm one. And I think women business owners need to be, we have to lift each other up and help each other get out there in bigger ways.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, you do that with this here. I don't know, because I like to have this. I'm going to hold it for just a couple of moments here so everyone can really take a look. Because unfortunately, I won't be able to go to tomorrow's, but it's a She Power Speaking Network. Build connections, elevate visibility, and fuel your momentum. Yes, can we talk about what this is? And so some of our, because my podcast is majority of them are female listeners, and so I'm sure they would want to hop onto one of your events here.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. My part of my sole purpose is building community. It's having women support other women. And I love that. I love to say, hey, I met so-and-so through your event and now we had lunch or we got together. I went to their house in California or something. I love that. It's like, oh, I have God bumps. It fills my soul. And so I created She Power Speakers Network because I wanted a place that women could get together on a monthly basis who had intentions about speaking. They might be new, they might be emerging, they might have, more experience, but they wanted to be around women who also wanted to be out there speaking. So I created a free monthly meeting. So what we do is we go over some logistics in the beginning and then we do breakout rooms. So we always have a theme. So this one is about goals and intentions. So we do 3 different breakout rooms. So you get to meet amazing other women. We also give you an opportunity to connect with each other afterwards. So that way, you're not doing this alone.
That is so beautiful. And I love it's like the collective. What I was in before is this business coaching group. And I felt like I connected with so many female entrepreneurs and we build long-lasting relationships. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be getting on a call with one of them tomorrow that I haven't spoken to in a long time. And it's amazing. The connection and then the relationships you build with these women are incredible. And I already know because I have a knowing that the women in your group that you talk to and connect with are just amazing and so loving and compassionate. I already know. I don't know.
It's I like, there's a sign that says your vibe attracts your tribe. I say your authentic vibe attracts your authentic tribe. Right. So anybody who comes to this will come because they want to support and encourage other women, and they're open to receiving support and encouragement as well. Because I went to a group that was networking group that was started by a man, and it was so masculine. It was just masculine. It was just masculine. And there's nothing wrong with, I have been married for over 30 years. I love my husband. There's nothing wrong with men. It just is a different vibe and energy. It was more like the networking business card slam, get in a room, breakout room, tell everybody what you do and what's the number one problem you solve, which is fine. But And then it was, and if you want to come back to this meeting, it's blah, 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 this amount. And you book a time to talk with me. If not, and you don't want to, that's fine with me. Like, that's fine with me too, dude. I'm not doing it.
That's hilarious. It's so true though. It's so true. I had one male mentor, but it's okay because it's him and his wife, and it was my MLM business that I still have, but I'm not really participating too much in it anymore. I just take the products. But he's like the mentor. He was the one teaching us how to do all of the reels, the social media. But what was nice is, yes, I had that masculine energy, but she was also involved. So she balanced it out, bringing that female energy. And so it was just wonderful to have. But I know exactly what you're talking about. I got in a call with I won't say his name just in case, but somewhere some famous guy in Europe, in England, and it was a business call, and I was just like, oh, this guy's making me tense. I don't want to be tense because it's so that masculine energy, like, you gotta
Yeah.
do this, you gotta do that. I'm like,
I had many years ago when I started my business, we were also doing some real estate investing. So we spent a bunch of money in a real estate investment program, and they gave me a coach. And you had to call people who were behind on their payments in their house. Not fun, right? Nobody
yeah.
wants to do that. And I was having a hard time doing it. And our first coaching call, he says to me, "Oh, you're the emotional type, aren't you?" I never talked to him again after that. Like, dude, this is normal. Like, I have to call people who are behind on their payments. Like, I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm done.
Oh
Yep.
my goodness. Yeah. So by the way, on your website, you can actually take a quiz to discover what kind of speaker you are. And I had the privilege of taking the quiz, and there's 4 different types of personalities. It's powerful, purposeful, playful, and peaceful. And
Hmm.
I discovered that I was a powerful speaker. I'm like, yes. And in my mind, oh my God, I'm gonna be honest again, AmondaRose. I felt like I'm not powerful. So you see these thoughts come back, but I'm like, you know what? Maybe I am because Amanda Rose's quiz said I am, so I am, okay?
You can be, there's other things. So you
Yes.
can be, so you're also very peaceful, right? There's a playful side of you. You're very well balanced. And so you could have like powerful be 1 point away from peaceful, playful. You could have those other things, right? Purposeful. You could be like very aligned. It's only going to show you the highest number one. So just know that you demonstrate all of those things by how you show up as well. And what we didn't mention was how could people find about She Powered and how could they take the quiz?
Oh, yes,
So,
yes.
yeah, so She Powered, if you go to amondarose.com, AmondaRose.com, it will try to correct you and say Amanda Rose, but it is just put Amanda Rose in the subject in Google search or however you search it, and it should come up. I mean, there is only one Amanda Rose, which I'm very grateful for. And so amondarose.com, there's right on that page, you can take the quiz, and you can also, there's an events tab, which will take you to She Powered, or you can go to amondarose.com/She Powered, and that will take you directly to the She Powered page.
Awesome. Yes. And everything will also be in the show notes, all of the links and everything there. But I really enjoyed taking the quiz, and I cannot wait to join the event because I'm like, you know what? I'm ready. I need to start speaking up more. And I'm doing podcasts all the time, but it's different on stage. It's different, is a
Very
certain
different.
way. Because podcasts, I'm giggly though. I'm naturally giggly. That's me. I used to have that nervous giggle too, where I'm like,
Did
that
you?
sounds
I
like
do
Beavis and
too.
Butthead. I'm like,
I love to laugh. I don't want to lose that side of it. It's when I'm in situations where I'm comfortable, then I would fall into that pattern of that after what I said. No, I was on a meeting and very, everyone's high level, and the little voice was, "You're not good enough," kind of thing was creeping in. And that's where I noticed in the replay after everything I said, like, and it wasn't funny. Like it wasn't meant to be laughter. It was meant because I was uncomfortable. And so even though I thought I was done with that, remember what we talked about? The stretch. When you stretch yourself, those little habits can come back. as
Yes,
well
yes.
and creep back in.
Absolutely. Now, how can speakers leverage their unique strengths to increase their impact and income through speaking?
So how can speakers leverage their strengths? So I think you have to look at what is your zone of genius.
Mhm.
And so when you really dial in your zone of genius, the thing that you do better than anybody else you know, or at least at the top level, that's the thing that you want to be speaking about. It's the thing that you do really, really well, and you know it. So, for example, one of my colleagues she's really figured out so much about AI. So she was doing a lot of speaking. She's now focused solely on AI and getting booked all the time.
Oh, wow.
But she's gives very practical tips, not about AI theory, very practical tips that she's implemented for herself and her clients, and people are loving it. So for me, like I talk about my zone of genius is signature talks. That's the thing, that the wording and knowing how to put this before that and how to open, how to close, and how to share this and make this engaging is my zone of genius. And so I really want everyone to think about for yourselves, what's the one thing that you do better than anyone else you know? And it's not a comparison thing. It's like just go into your heart and ask yourself that. It's not like from looking from an external world and going on the internet and comparing yourself to so and so or someone you know. What does your heart tell you that your zone of genius is? It isn't strategy. It's not specific enough. Like, what in strategy do you do better than anyone else? And when you can laser in on that zone of genius, what's going to happen? People are going to see you as an expert in something. They're going to see you at the top level. They're going to see you as the person that is the go-to person for speaking engagements, for being on podcasts. And then what's going to happen to your impact, your influence, and your income are all going to go up when you set yourself apart from all the other people that talk about the same things that you talk about.
Finding your zone of genius. And we all have it within us. We
Mm-hmm.
all have something that we're also very passionate about. So, for example, I don't know if I shared this with you before, but in 2020, that pause allowed me to discover different talents and passions that I have, like cooking. So we were just at my brother's house, yes, about 2 days ago. It was my niece's 16th birthday. And my sister-in-law, my brother, and I were talking. And then my husband, he's Indian, he's from Chennai, India. And he said that I am the best Indian cook. And that was a huge compliment because AmondaRose, I did not like cooking. I
I
would
don't.
make top ramen, mac and cheese, all those icky stuff. And that was what I was good at. I didn't know I actually had a passion for cooking. And what did I decide to cook? The hardest recipes are Indian food, like it was amazing because I was like, challenge accepted. This is fun. I love it. And then I was just getting better and better and better and better. And then so he shared this with my brother and my sister-in-law, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, we're gonna come over your house and you're gonna make us some Indian food because we were missing it." I said, "Yes, come over." So you never know. It's just a matter of just trying it. And for me right now, it would be like, okay, now let's go on stage. So if I was going to ask you, for those starting out or looking to advance their speaking careers, what are some of the quickest ways to make a positive impact and accelerate their success?
Okay. So we're going to do a little workshopping with you. So I know you do your podcast, you've done the TEDx, and what else? What else is on on the horizon?
Book. I'm going to be doing a book.
Okay, so you're going to be doing a book. All right. So I want to be crystal clear for people. You do not have to have a book to start speaking.
Good to
Okay.
know.
That because a lot of people, I'm going to do my book first, and then I'm going to launch my speaking career based on my book. Get out there, start speaking, get your reputation known, but you're also going to find out in the process of speaking and getting in front of more people what's super clear for people, what's their challenges. You're going to have those conversations with your audiences and in private one-to-ones afterwards that are going to help you define that content for that book. Yeah. So that's number one. Okay. So we said we can work on the book and we can work on our speaking. So what else do you think you would think you should do in order to start booking more speaking engagements?
Oh, for me, I would love to just start speaking, no cost at all. My story, and sharing it amongst others who are going through either addiction or they
Mhm.
have alcohol dependency, um, or anything that relates to women who just want to even get better in life.
Okay. So for you, and this is different for everybody, but we're just going to workshop for Gina for a moment, is could you contact, so I'm going to assume yours is, it's may have some 12 step, but it's not like you have to go to 12-step programs. Am I correct?
Right.
Okay. All right. So what if you contacted rehabs that were not that were a little nearby you that were not 12-step programs based?
Love that idea.
Could you go
Yes.
to that group and share your story about self-love and how you transformed?
Yes, yes. So I remember going to AA and then, we share stories sometimes, but I don't feel aligned with AA. So yes, I love your idea how I should go and reach out to other places that are not necessarily 12-step AA and just share. And it would be better for me if it was just women, just a women group as well, because I connect with women more. So and plus my business is working with women, so that would make more
Even
sense.
even look for women's groups that meet. So when you're looking for women meet much more often than men do.
Mhm.
Men, you might find one group of men that meet, or it's an open group. Women, we have women only meetings. Now we might say women's meeting, yes, a guy couldn't attend, and sometimes they do attend, that's totally okay. But they're women centric. So meaning that it's majority of them are women. So just look for those and look for ones in your drivable distance that bring in speakers that are not members.
I love that. Thank you,
Uh-huh.
AmondaRose. That's great.
So
I'm going to use that.
and
This is
that's true for everybody, anybody listening, if you're just wanting to get started. So here's another thing to, and they're going to kick my butt if people hear me say this, but if you're running a meeting, I'm sorry, but this is what I tell my clients to do. So I apologize in advance. If you're listening, if you run a women's meeting, because every single time they're going to want you to join the meeting. So how many meetings can you join? You can't. So there's two things. You want to be the expert that comes in and speaks versus the person that is there every single meeting, right?
you're
You want to
right.
be the expert. And the other thing, so when they say to you, hey, you could join our membership, I would love to. That would be great. However, due to my speaking and coaching schedule, I just don't have the availability to attend on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And that's it. They'll never ask you again, and you still get to speak.
Oh, these are great tips. I love this. This is why I wanted to speak with you. I'm like, oh, give me. Now, you've actually worked with a wide range of accomplished individuals. Can you share a success story? I love success stories where your coaching made a significant difference in someone's speaking career.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll talk about Vanessa Shaw. So Vanessa and I were actually in a coaching program together. So Vanessa had not been speaking, but she was in transition from leaving her corporate career into starting her own business. So she did book a gig with my help in that had no, actually, no, she had this one first, but I did help her book a whole ton more. So she had a gig booked and we worked on her signature story as well. We worked on all her speaking stuff, her speaker one sheet, her presentation titles, taglines, descriptions, all of those pieces. So when she was done delivering her first signature talk, she had a line of 60 people waiting to talk with her afterwards,
Wow.
all wanting to know more about how she could help them.
I
So
love
it just accelerated her coaching business. And so then I taught her, in addition to this talk, we worked on all the stuff around booking speaking engagements. And so she was consistently booking. It became her number one marketing tool in her business, and she has a 7-figure business today.
Oh my goodness. That is
Mhm.
amazing. Wow. Now, can our listeners contact you and have a connect call? How does that work? If so, I'm sure you've inspired a lot of our listeners are like, you know what, I'm ready to speak. I'm ready for this. How can they go ahead and contact you? I know you gave us your website, but any other place?
Yeah, so if they do go to my website, they can book a 15 to 30-minute strategy session. That's the best place to start. So if you just go over to coaching and it'll have that little tab in there for the strategy session, that's the best place. And so this way we can really dive into where your challenges are, where your concerns are, what's happening, and I always say to people, we won't talk about you hiring me unless this is something you want to talk about and we both feel like we're a right fit. And typically we'll book another time because I want to really zone in on where your challenges are, create a plan for your next step, do some quick fixes on what's happening with your speaking. So the least, if we don't even work together, you'll be singing my praises to everyone you know.
Love it, AmondaRose. Thank you so much. Any last words or thoughts you'd like to share?
I would. For me, I've come really far in my speaking, but what I've always done is taken one step in front of the other. And so I believe if you take one step, God, spirit, universe, whatever you call it, would take two or three, but you have to take the first step, whether it's to book a strategy call or to find that speaking engagement or work on your one sheet or work on your signature talk, whatever it is, you have to make a decision to take that next step.
100%. I love it. Action. Take action.
That's
Well,
right.
thank you so much, AmondaRose. It's been an amazing time chatting with you. I've always loved your being around you because you emulate such beautiful energy and I can feel it and I take it and I just go with it. So thank you
Thank
so
you, Gina.
much.